A great partnership can multiply your success, but a bad one, that can divide everything that you've built. So you know what? We've actually talked about the business aspect of a relationship. We've talked about the platonic friendship aspect, but we have to talk about the romantic aspect of a relationship.
So you're talking about like dating, marriage, and all that type?
Yeah, dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, marriage.
Situationships.
You know, those. Because I think actually somebody said that the most important decision you will ever make.
To quote that. Wait, repeat it so that it's nice and clear. Go ahead.
Somebody said that the most important decision you will ever make in life
is your entanglement.
Let him. Say it one more time.
The most important decision you will ever make in your life is the person you decide to get married to.
Yes.
Preach.
Yes. I 100% believe
Now,
that.
why do you think that person's made that statement?
You know, there's no one that will know you as much as your spouse will know you, right? You can go out there, you can be the most charismatic person, you can be whatever out there to people, but when you come home, I think that is your true self. And that's why I think I agreed with that statement that there's that decision that you're going to make is the most important because they know the real you.
Right.
They can make or break the real you.
Absolutely.
They can support or tear down the real you.
That's true.
Before you even go out there, most of the time, even if you're spending, hopefully you're spending more than 8 hours inside your home a day. You know, most people will spend half of their day inside their home, you know, inside that environment, right? While with other people, you might spend way less, right? So it is very important who you surround yourself with starting first. With your spouse.
Make it or break you, build you up and tear you down. That's real. I mean, just turn on the news. You can see relationships, romantic relationships where you see someone, started with nothing. Now look at me, exhibit A, like Denzel.
Yeah.
He'll tell you that like, look, I couldn't get gotten here without her. Then you have the ones where you're like, golly, they were together. That was so tumultuous.
Yeah.
You watch the person on top of the world, then they end up with someone, they have a tumultuous relationship, they end up with just life torn to pieces, all because of, the relationship, the nature of the relationship. So I think that was like a real statement that you said, because, and that was a real quote you shared, because it is important.
Yeah.
Because you're sharing, all of you essentially, right? So if you have someone who can pour into you, that's awesome. The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
That's right.
But if you have someone who's tearing you down, you're constantly fighting to build yourself back up to the place where you started with every day.
Yeah.
And you're not going to go for it.
Yeah.
You're just going to fight to stay in the same spot.
Now, our motto here, as we always say, is that this podcast is for those who want to go beyond the grind. And I know some folks has probably asked, well, what does that mean? Obviously, we talk about business a lot on this podcast, but beyond business, the things that are happening in your personal life can ultimately impact your business.
That's correct.
I know folks that simply because of choosing the wrong partner, it has crumbled their business. I mean, we're talking about how relationships can impact your life from a positive perspective to a negative perspective, right? But the question I want to ask you guys is, a romantic relationship can be a bit tricky because, the church that we go to, Pastor Conway, he made a statement.
Shout out. That's where you go, right?
We go to,
Community.
we go to One Community.
Shout out.
He said some of the most smartest CEOs, business executives, making great decisions.
And he's good at communication.
When it comes to deciding who they want to build a romantic relationship with, they end up getting wrong.
Yeah.
And why? Because of this little thing that we call emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's the one thing.
Good imitation.
It's the one thing that we cannot essentially count on. Why? Because it's never stable.
Yep.
It goes up and down.
Oh my gosh.
Up and down. And when we know business, business
just had this conversation.
It's all about structure. It's all about stability.
That's correct.
You I mean, we're all married here. Can you ever at once said that your emotions have always been stable the entire time you've been married?
Mm-mm.
It goes up and down,
That's
right? But you can't be making decisions based on off of those feelings. So why do you think that people don't consider that?
I think it depends on the stage of life that they're in, right? If you're, I don't know, let's say 20s, early 30s, right? You're just going with feelings like, hey, I'm looking for someone that I can connect with, I can have fun with generally. All right, these are all general, right? So I'm looking for someone I can vibe with. All right, let me use that term. All right, I'm looking for someone, and then if we find, let's get married, right? Then you get into another season, right? Because that's still all emotions, right? Then you get into that next season where you're probably mid-30s, going to be early 40s and all that stuff, and you're like, I'm looking for someone because I don't want to be alone.
If you're still single, maybe. I want to settle down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying yes. That's why they're letting their emotions before they get into that type of relationship. All right, because that's what I thought the question was about.
Yes.
Right. So to me, it depends. They're letting their emotions ride them because of the season that they're in. And it's different things that are pulling on them. But like you said, it's up and down. Just like every season, it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. You're happy, you're sad, you're trying to hustle, you're not trying to hustle, and so on and so forth, right? So because you're leading with those things, you generally you've got blinders on, and you're not able to fully process what you're about to go into.
I think the way to sum it up is that if you don't learn to control your emotions, then they will eventually control you. So it's very important to have emotional stability and learn, even with kids. You know, I was always taught as a firm believer, and I'm a firm believer in this, is that you need to teach your kids first control, stability, and habit and discipline. And then the fun comes later. And then they can control their emotions and do all that. No one's saying don't have emotions. But if you make decisions based on your emotions first, you're never going to be happy. I guarantee you that. You're never going to be happy because what you feel today is not how you feel tomorrow.
That's right.
So you were happy with the same decision you made today. Tomorrow you're unhappy with it because it was all based on, I was in this mood yesterday. I'm not in that mood anyway. I don't like this anymore. I don't like this relationship. I don't like this. Everything is terrible. I'm like, like that's what happens when your emotions go like this. You have to, I mean, no one's saying don't factor in your emotions, but they shouldn't be the leading factor in any decision in life. There should be some kind of logic and, take your emotions into consideration. You should feel good about something, but it shouldn't just be like, this person makes me feel happy. This person makes me feel, that actually is selfish. That's all based on how you feel.
Yep.
So what do you bring to the table? What do they bring to the table? Are you marriageable? People always looking like, oh, I want to get married. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you marriageable? What does that mean? I'm looking for someone. You're looking for someone. You need to be great so that person finds you. You can't just be your regular terrible self and expect someone to just love you for who you are. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, would you love you? Hold yourself to the same standards you hold other people.
And I think
it doesn't make sense.
You make a great point there. Like, are you marriageable, right? I got a question for you guys. How long have you been married?
10 years.
10 years. And how long have you been married?
35. No, I'm sorry. 4, 5.
5 years, right? So obviously, you guys are doing something right. I've been married for a good amount of time. I'm probably the most seasoned.
Well, how many years has it been?
This month makes 11 years.
Oh my God.
Hey,
so
congrats.
My God, you look so young. You got married at 14.
So, and obviously, some people, they get lucky. What I mean by lucky is they don't do the normal assessment that you're meant to do before you get married. They just end up marrying the right person.
Right.
Whereas some people, they actually go through the whole picking the right person, like having like the right assessment, right? When you were about to get married, obviously you looked at your wife and you said, you know what, this is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Immediately.
This is the person that I know is going to have so much influence in my life. That's going to determine the direction in my life. It's going to be the future of the mother of my kids, and so on and so forth. What are the things that had to be on the checklist for you to feel confident enough for you to want to make that decision? Because nowadays, on social media, you got the whole, I can't do 50-50. You got it. His money is my money. My money is my money. You got the whole...
And you also got the toxic masculinity too,
right?
So it's both ways.
Yeah, so, definitely.
You got the, hey, I'm the man of the house. Yeah. You gotta say what I do. It's a whole lot, right?
Yeah, it's men versus women on social media right now.
So
it's a jungle.
It's a jungle out there. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, like, how did you? Was there anything that you did specifically, or is there something that maybe 2-3 years in you have to kind of realign to make sure that the foundation is quite strong?
Man, I don't know if I'm the right guy for this, right? Because my whole story is completely different. It's not normal.
Okay.
What's that normal about it?
No, it's just
normal. Normal is subjective, brother.
That's what I'm wondering.
It is. Okay.
Aren't they all abnormal?
Well, here's my story, and I think my wife remembers it because I've told it.
It's a beautiful story. Tell it again. I want to hear again.
It's not. It's how I got there,
Yeah,
right? That's what you guys are asking for. How do you prepare and so on and so forth? Like, what did you do up front?
Right.
So when I'm an introverted person, all right, I definitely didn't go out as much and all that stuff. I didn't date as much. Maybe he had like 3, maybe 4 girlfriends or whatever since college.
That's a lot.
And I mean, 23. Okay, sorry.
20 years old, right?
So
that's a lot.
For an introvert.
You was like 20.
Okay. What? Well, most of them were in college. Okay. But outside of college and all that stuff, right? So for me, because I'm a follower of Christ, and so on. So as I was going through a season where I wasn't dating anybody, right? I was focused on work, trying to grind and so on and so forth. But in that period, I just started praying. I was like, God, I ain't got time to date. I don't know who I'm going to date. I barely go out there and all that stuff. So
I'm not going to meet anyone.
Yeah. So I'm like, the next person I meet, I don't want to date. I want to date them to marry.
Wow. So you even made a decision before you even met her.
You were like 20 years old, huh?
It wasn't a decision. It was a request more of. Right, because I was having a conversation as I was praying.
And guys, don't follow this advice. This is just what worked for him.
That's why I started off saying that mine is completely different, but they still asked me.
Yeah, we want to hear.
So I was like, that's what I really want. So hey, if it aligns with your will, let it be. If it doesn't, we gonna keep going around the circle and figure it out. So then. I still didn't go out much. This was like years after. And then randomly, one of my friends that we grew up with invites me to his birthday party, which was at her apartment.
Okay.
And my wife's, or my girlfriend back then, apartment. And that's how we met. Even when we met, I couldn't get her number because I didn't know how to. I was very shy, very introverted. I just want to have fun with the folks and all that stuff. But we gelled, we connected, and all that stuff. Had great conversation
the game
and all that stuff.
The rest was.
But I didn't get her phone number.
Did you ask?
I didn't even ask.
Okay, how you gonna get it?
Did you think too?
The Bible said.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Think too, or you just like didn't even hit you?
No, he wanted to, but he didn't have to.
Yeah,
you're just too shy.
Remember, I'm rusty, right? I didn't even go out. I've been out there.
He didn't have the boldness to ask her.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, fast forward again, another 3 months or so, we meet another event. We connect again. We're like, hey, we connect. We were vibing, all that stuff. We were connecting.
Now it's a familiar face.
Correct. And the end was coming up. The end of the event was coming up again. I didn't even think about it because maybe we're just having too much fun or whatever, right? I didn't think about asking her for a number, and she's like, "Hey, let me add you on Facebook."
Oh, she bailed him out.
man, I'm not gonna ask for his number, but let me give him a chance.
So that's how we ended up connecting and, starting chatting. All right. But once we started chatting.
Wait, when did you get her number?
On that Facebook.
Yeah.
They hacked that Facebook account. I no longer have it.
Okay.
But she probably has the history. But coming back to it. So as we were talking and all that stuff earlier on, she's like, man, this guy's serious. He's, I don't know how old I was, maybe 23 or whatever.
Yeah,
and I had all these dreams. I've told her, like, these
take over the world.
These are the things I want to do. Like,
he was ambitious.
If we gonna do this, I need to let you know where I'm going, what I've got dreams for, because she was still in college. Actually, she was just maybe a sophomore or something like that in college. And I'd finished my master's. I passed my CPA. I was already on to because college for me was just, I wanted to run and gun. It wasn't like
you finished everything early.
Yeah, I finished in maybe 4 years, my undergrad and master's, which wasn't even a 4-year program. It was just, I just did every single semester. So I was on a mission, right? So I felt like, hey, if I'm going to bring someone along, if I'm going to want to marry someone, they've got to know where I'm heading, and make sure that, hey, you know what, this guy's ambitious. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. He wants to grind it. Am I willing to be part of that journey? Right. So up front, I was very clear on, hey, these are the things that I was looking for. And I think she bought into it. And I'm saying I think she bought into it because, she was just hearing me, but she actually did something to prove that she believed in what I was about to do.
What she do?
Because now, after I told her all my grand plans, I didn't have a firm back then. I was still an employee working for somebody. But guess who got me my first client? She did. Right? That means she must have been listening. Whether she believed I could do it or not, or saw that potential or whatever, I don't know. But I know that when she got the opportunity to support that dream, she stepped into it.
But how did you know that you were aligned with her? Because yes, you have your vision, but I'm sure she also had her vision as well.
Correct.
Or did she have a vision yet? Or is it still forming?
Or you just got lucky?
Well, I think her vision was still forming, if I can answer for her.
Okay.
Right. Maybe we need to have her on the podcast. If you guys want my wife to come on the podcast.
You heard that from me?
Yeah, you got
She's also an entrepreneur and all that stuff. Put it down in the chat, all right? Put it down in the chat. We'll do even a short of this.
She has the best personality.
So speaking for her, I think at that time it was still forming. Like I said, I believe she was like a sophomore in college when we met, right? So she was still trying to get through college before figuring out the next steps, right? Which she pretty much picked it up because after college, she jumped into that entrepreneurial route, and the rest is history.
But you don't think you had a part in inspiring that entrepreneurial spirit?
I think it
was probably already in her.
Yeah, it was.
It was definitely in her.
The pace at which she saw you moving kind of inspires people. Like if I'm around someone who's moving around and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. This is the pace.
I mean, her father was an entrepreneur also, right? So she's been around that kind of mindset and that type of grind. But hey, having more around you, I don't think hurts.
Yeah.
What if I told you that my stories is exactly quite similar to yours? And
I'm not going to tell my story right away, y'all.
So literally, for me, I met my wife while I was still in uni as well. Back then, she was in London. I was here in the US. And at first, when we first started talking, I just view her as a journal that can talk back to you. So in other words,
I get it.
In other words, I don't have to worry about her telling my business to anybody because she is not associated with anybody, right? And I noticed that she was constantly giving me really good feedback, good advice, and it got to a point where she was a ChatGPT before ChatGPT.
Yeah,
I started telling her about my ambitions, about the plans I have, right. Obviously it's a little bit late now, but I told her I was going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30.
Hey, no worries.
Like I had this huge plan, right? And I talked about how she was going to be part of it. And I talked about how, delayed gratification. And she started talking about her own business ambitions, about how she wants to do this, she wants to do that. And I'm like, man, like we can actually be the power couple.
Yeah.
But the mistake, well, I don't want to say the mistake. A lot of the decisions that we made, thankfully we brought, our faith into the relationship, because I think that's what ultimately helped us in our marriage. But the biggest thing that we were able to agree on is the vision. But what we didn't agree on is the structure.
The COO.
Yeah. How things were going to go, because, you get into the marriage, you go into the honeymoon stage, right? Mm-hmm. You understand that this person is going to is going to have a big impact in your life. You're going to have a big impact in their life. So you run out of the honeymoon stage and then you start to have issues, right? And the issues, you deal with them, as they come. But what you don't realize is that the issues are symptoms of lack of foundation.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by lack of foundation?
Or cracked foundation.
Or cracked foundation. Yeah. But for us, it was a lack of aligned foundation. So what I mean by aligned, so I had my core values, she had her core values, but we didn't have what we call a shared core values. So I remember I had a conversation with the pastor, and he, I was like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, and he smiled. He said, what you're going through is normal. He said, have you ever done this thing where you have a sit and list out all the things that you consider your core values, and have her list all her core values? I said, no. He said, when you get home, I want you to do that, have her do it, but don't look at each other's papers. Once you're done, and once she's done, get another separate piece of paper entitled that shared core values. And then what you do is you compare your notes, what you have and what she has, put them in the middle, because those are your shared core values. Mm-hmm. Now, what you have that she doesn't have, is now my job to convince her that we should add this to our shared core values, because the shared core values are essentially what's going to guide our relationship and how decisions will be made, right? And vice versa. Then he now says something critical. He said, if I want to add something to our shared core value, but she can't adopt that, then I have to ask myself, is this a non-negotiable? If it is a non-negotiable, then you don't have a relationship. Mm-hmm. Now, that's something you're supposed to do from day one.
I was waiting.
Now, because we didn't do it on day one, you're now in year 3, year 4. Now it's risky, right? Because you're trying to decide, okay, like, can we actually be together? Does that make sense? So luckily, certain stuff that, I had that was non-negotiable, thankfully, she agreed to them. Stuff that was non-negotiable for her, I was able to agree to it. And then we were able to essentially like compromise on certain things, right? So the first list, the scripture will have the final saying in our household, right? So whenever we're trying to make decisions, hey, what does the scripture say about this? What am I saying? I'm putting structure in place. So there is no ambiguity. There's no emotions, right? Right. So if I need to make the final decision on something, right? Just because I'm making a final decision doesn't mean that it was my decision or my idea.
Yeah.
It just means that you're respecting me enough to say, can we go ahead? Does that make sense, right? So we did a whole thing, things like trust, hospitality, like, hey, I want our hospitality to be, I want our home to be hospitable, Even communication, we define communication as not necessarily when we're fighting, but communication is anything that is not normal, that is going to change from the norm, needs to be communicated, right? Now, here's how I knew that we were on the right path. And I need y'all to follow me on this. We had a situation. When we first got married, man, she used to cook for me every night. And which was quite weird for me because I wasn't used to that, right? Every night. And then the one night, she didn't cook. I'm coming home. I got home and I'm like, oh, where's the food? She's like, hey, babe, it's been a crazy day. It's been a busy day. I'm sorry. I didn't have any time. Now, from my perspective, why you didn't communicate? Because I could have stopped by to get something, or I could have come. I would have came home and I would have, prepared some food. In her mind, it's like, dude,
busy.
I'm cooking for you every day.
Yeah.
The one time I didn't cook for you,
you're complaining.
You're complaining. Now, you see, it's all about perspective, right? Now, when the situation happened again, after we now have our shared core values, and we say communication is if something is going to change, communicate. So when it happened again, no, it was, you know what? That's my fault because I should have communicated. It was not about
whose feelings.
It was not about the fact that I was busy. It was not about because, I've always cooked for you and the one time I didn't cook for you. It was about the fact that somebody dropped the ball. Accountability. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I say all that to say that in relationship, you always have to make sure that you have bylaws that guide your relationship. Remember, we talk about business relationship, how you need to have a structural foundation, and that's the founder's, piece, where you have your vision, you have your values, you have your structure, which is roles, responsibility, equity, risk, how you even exit.
Let me ask you this. How did that make you feel when she said, my bad? Made you feel good that there's accountability and you were like, maybe I shouldn't be so.
No, so when she said my bad, it was just like, no, it's all good.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Because she took accountability, right?
It wasn't that serious.
It wasn't that serious.
It was more so like,
for me, I'm very, very like
accountable.
I'm very, very picky on if we've agreed on something and you don't hold on to your end of the bargain, it makes it hard for me to have a relationship with you. Accountability. Tosin, if you take $1 from me, $1 is nothing to me. But if you say, hey, I'm going to give you this $1 back tomorrow.
Look at him different.
You don't give me that $1. I might not say anything, but I'm going to be like.
But if he says, you're right, I'm sorry, I should have done it.
I can respect accountability. That's accountability, right?
They just say, well, I got busy. That's not an apology. Exactly. That's an excuse. Like you're not taking accountability.
Right. So, and that's the structure aspect of it. Like, I know people that, and I say this because I think I got lucky because that exercise that I did it in the, 4th year of my marriage, assuming that, I had done it at the beginning, a lot of the issues that I had when the honeymoon stage was over, I probably wouldn't have experienced it. Right. But you just never know.
Yeah.
You're learning.
I was about to say and wanting to ask Alan this question, that people do change over time.
Yes.
We change. Your spouse is definitely going to change.
100%.
Or whoever you're in that relationship with is going to change. Right. So yes, you might have some alignment up front, but life, work, children, circumstances, everything, whatever may happen can start changing. People
your core values doesn't change though, Tosin.
I think your core values together, your agreed upon core values can migrate. As long as it's agreed upon.
That's the key. That's the key. The key is migrate.
Because that's together.
Yes.
We decided that these are now.
Because the list that we originally made.
You guys grow. Well, the thing is that you guys are thinking that you move together.
Yeah,
it doesn't always move together.
We need to move together.
That's what the core value is. So you have to have you can have your value and her value, but your core value.
We have shared value.
If it was if it was this and now it's here, both of you have to agree that this is what we're both agreeing upon.
Yeah, but before it shifted to that point and you now have to agree, somebody shifted first.
Somebody shifted,
first.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Not shifted, somebody initiated the shift.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, life may have initiated
whatever
shit.
it is, whatever spheres. But like the pastor said, you need that to have a relationship.
Yes.
Or otherwise, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
None of you want to give in.
But you were going to ask him a question.
No, that was the question. What happens, as people shift over time? People change over time.
So you're going to change. You're going to have to go back to the exercise that he pointed at to, which honestly, I think in the history of our podcast, that was the single biggest nugget that you've delivered.
Wow!
No, hear me out.
It's a good thing. It's a compliment. All right.
Yeah, and you deliver a lot of good nuggets because that ultimately can be applied to every aspect of life.
Yeah.
If we do business together, these are what we want to accomplish, our core values. And if we can't agree on these things, it's not a business. We need to roll. We can do our own things.
True.
We're just doing whatever. If we're friends and we agree that like, hey, I need you to be, available to me and I need to be available to you, given that we're busy and we need to take accountability. And, if we can't agree, I can't be available to you. You can't I'm busy. I can't take accountability. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We have to agree on these set of agreed upon shared core values for us in order for anything to work together. And when that shifts, that's when you reevaluate. Okay, that's when we say like, oh, maybe you outgrew that person. It's because you no longer have shared values.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just, and that's who I was back then. I've either grown for the better or for the worse. I don't know, whatever. But that's not what's important to me. And I'm unyielding to these things and they're unyielding to those things. And we don't have anything where we meet in the middle. So that's why sometimes friendships go away because you move away, you get busy and you don't think they're as important.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
If they are important, when you do meet each other, it's like that. But other people you don't even care to meet because it's nothing they have is important to you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize that you're friends of proximity.
So I got another question for you guys because we just talked about the structural piece that is needed, especially at the beginning of a romantic relationship, right? Do you guys have board meetings in your home? And if so, how do you run it? Because and here's the reason why I'm saying it, because I feel like every relationship, right? Whether it's a business relationship, romantic relationship, or a friendship, you need to understand what you guys are doing, where we're going. Like, how is our relationship defined? I'll give you a prime example, right? At the beginning of every year, I have a family vision, right? And the family vision is aligned with my personal vision as well as my wife's personal vision. So we bring it together. It's like what's your vision for this year, right? Because that family vision is what everybody's operating under. Once the family vision has been created, then I now have principles. So those principles are essentially what's going to guide us. So what do I mean by principles? Maybe one of the principles is that, hey, we want to make sure that we're creating more time for each other, right? And then after the principles, you create your goals. So because we want to create more time with each other, the goals will be, okay, maybe twice a week or once a week, we're going to set aside 1 hour or 2 hours, to date each other, whether watch a movie together, go out to dinner, whatever, right? Do you guys do stuff like that?
No, we don't. We just argue about whose turn it is to watch football on Sunday or Bridgerton.
So what I'm telling y'all is things that I have learned over the last 11 years of what you need to keep a successful romantic relationship.
No, you giving us good gems because he is a COO, so he just COO everything.
I'm gonna come at it from a different perspective, right? We don't do all that writing and everything like that. I don't know. Maybe it's not my personality or whatever.
Right? Y'all communicate pretty well,
but I think we have to look at it like everyone's different.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. So you have to know. I mean, hopefully before you got married, you understand how that person functions, how they like to receive information, how they like to discuss tough
conversations.
Tough conversations,
That's hard,
right?
because a lot of people shy away from that.
That's right.
And that's what you got to break down.
And you
first.
might still shy away from it today, but you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't mean it's ever going to be easy. Just because you get married to somebody doesn't mean those tough conversations get easier.
Like, that makes you better at having tough conversations.
Or makes you better at it. It's like you think
you're in a relationship.
It's like, oh, I'm going to be with this person 24/7, so we could just talk like that.
Tough conversations are less tough if you have them often.
I thought tough conversations are like we need to talk.
Well, my goal is not to have as many tough conversations because that means we're always fixing something.
Yeah, like
right.
Have you guys ever gotten a text? We need to talk when you get home, and you start thinking like, what have I done?
You should have just.
That goes with anyway. Even if obviously they've been focused on marriage, but that goes with any relationship.
Correct.
You need to get better at having a tough conversations earlier to set the rubric.
Yeah,
and to also make the tough conversation to just make it not tough. Take the air out of it. So it's like just deflated. There's no energy for that intensity about it.
Well, I think the toughness part is because
conflicting.
You're trying to give feedback to your partner and you're wondering how they're going to receive that feedback, right? And a lot of time that feedback has something to do with accountability as well too. Probably. Because how many guys can actually say, hey, if your wife says she wants to lose 20 pounds. How many guys can actually truly hold their wives accountable to say, hey, you need to stop eating or you need to go to the gym.
Waking her up at 5 a.m.
So I think it's a generalization, but I do understand that most men, right? If you say you're going to lose weight, I'm like, bro, what are you eating? You losing weight or not? But you can't say that to most women. You can't say that to your significant other in general, because you're their spouse. So sometimes, or boyfriend or girlfriend. So it comes as you're judging me. And now I'm sometimes can feel insecure for that. So I think you have to have a conversation, like a tough conversation, like, hey, I want to lose that. Okay, so what can I do to help? What would you like me to help? 9 times out of 10, the answer if you're male is no, they don't want you to help keep them accountable because it makes them more, I can't speak for all women, but this is what's been conveyed to me, that it makes them more self-conscious, that they're, like pressure. So it's always great to have the person who you're trying to find out how they function. Don't guess, just ask them. Whatever they say, so how often should I ask you? I just want to know so I can set the tone and don't overstep.
Some people don't even like that. So it's like, why you gotta be so rigid?
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to. In what ways can I help you? What can I do to help you? How can I help you? Well, you can do. Would you like me to remind you on this time? If I see you eating, would you like me to be on the same diet as you? So you can't just wonder. You can make the conversation easier by offering your help rather than offering your critique. Okay. So ask how you can help.
I was going to say, have you guys seen examples where, people picked the wrong partner and, obviously it was the wrong decision and they just, took a left turn and their life was never the same? Or even, we got situations where people even talk about the whole prenup situation. Like, hey, you got to get a prenup.
Those are two different things. But prenups, I believe in prenups, right? I didn't sign a prenup because
you ain't had nothing.
I hate when people say that.
Wait, I was about to say something.
Either, bro. She made 3 times the same.
Also, that I didn't have this idea that what I believe about prenups, because I think the idea about prenups is a little bit skewed because we see athletes, we see celebrities, they have all these prenups and it makes it seem like, you're trying to do something wrong to the other person or you're trying to shortchange the other spouse, right? But the way I was taught it by one of my mentors, he's like, no, a prenup is just a way to end your marriage. Yeah. He said every single marriage, no matter what state or country, or most countries that you're in, there's a prenup for your marriage already. All right. So a real prenup is you choosing, do you want what the state or the country has for you, depending.
Also, all right, some of that money that you're awarding in the prenup that you have, right, that you set up, you can either choose to keep it and decide what you want, or you can give your attorneys the money and take from your pocket. So, you just decide while you're both happy how we ideally want it. Not when you're both flared up, angry, or whatever the situation.
Well, it's almost like taking back the control of how it would end if it was to end.
And it should be fair, truthfully. I think it should be fair. Like, I don't think
that's where
negotiation.
That's where
anyone.
Yeah, that's where negotiation comes in.
Right.
Obviously, get your own attorney, representative, and whatever to look out for your best interests. And it's a conversation that you're having, right? Yeah. Because, like I just said, if you are choosing what the state has, there's a way to end it. Yeah. Whether it comes to property, whether it comes to children, whether it comes to future benefits, whatever it is, and everything is already spelled out.
Explain to them that, like, most prenups, in the way for most of you out there, it's only protecting the assets they come into the relationship with. Everything, you build something in the marriage,
everything is
50-50 at that point. It's not like, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
So I think there's this.
We're not attorneys here, but I think there's still some kind of legality foundation that it has to start off with. Right. Yeah. It can't say, hey, you don't get anything, even if we've built stuff together. That's not how it goes.
It seems out of all, the different relationships, the two most important relationships is the romantic relationship and the business relationship, which is why both of them are the one that requires legal documentation. Correct. Because hey, friends can come and go. Like, just to be friends with you, I don't need to sign any document. Right. But the minute
you might have to sign an NDA to know me.
but the minute you say you want to go into business with somebody, hey, you need to sign some legal documents. Right. The minute you say you want to get into a romantic lifetime relationship, you're gonna have to sign some legal documents.
Well, you sign a marriage certificate. Yeah, that's a legal document.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yes, it's very important for people to have that unemotional structure in place from the beginning. But I wanted to hear the other part that people not making the right decision and it totally impacted their business, their friendship, just their life in general. Have you guys seen any of those?
We have experiences around us, right? Mm-hmm. We have friends, family, whatever it is, that have gone through those hard times where, the relationship didn't work out for whatever reason it may be. It does change you, right? That type of relationship, I'm piggybacking on your comment that it's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. Mm-hmm. It is true, because when it does end, it's like an emotional rupture, right? I don't care how it ends, why it ended, or so on, because you guys were tied that closely,
And you got kids, if possible.
Oh man, if children, it's even that much worse, right? So just breaking it up apart, it's never an easy journey for any of the spouses involved, right? Whether they're at fault, whether they're not at fault, whether it was mutual, whatever it is, there's that break just will impact you emotionally. It will definitely impact you financially. Right. And it's almost like you've got to restart and rebuild all over again.
I think I've seen it both ways where, so let me preface this. I agree. But I would say that, like, when you're choosing your romantic relationship, you definitely try to understand how everyone else views that relationship. But take it with a grain of salt, because I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where everyone said, 4 ways. Where people have approved them, they turned out to be great. Where people have approved them, they turned out to be terrible. Where people disapproved them, they turned out to be just as terrible as ever. And then where people have disapproved them, they turned out to be the best thing ever. The one I will go by is where the 2 disapprovals, where family where family disapproved of the spouse, and I think the person had blinders on, to be honest, like, because, shortly into the relationship, they started seeing what everyone was telling them. We didn't understand either. So what kind of spell? But it really turned their life upside down, and they just had a hard time. They couldn't even focus. They were doing well in business. They couldn't even focus because they're busy managing the emotional roller coaster of their relationship. And it was a downward spiral. They were depressed, everything. They went to counseling and what it boiled down to is that they didn't have the shared core values. I felt from an outsider looking in that the spouse was more focused on their own happiness and not anything else. Yeah. If they weren't happy, no one was happy. You know, like instead of like, and I feel like it should always be two whole individuals come together to make a romantic relationship. Yeah. Especially when you're, you know, a lifetime, it's a lifetime decision, like being married or whatever. But it just felt like one whole person and a tumultuous, unwhole person, and was looking for someone to make them whole and to make them happy. And that's another thing when you choose these relationships. You can't find your happiness extrinsically. Yeah. If you cannot be happy intrinsically, then someone can take away your happiness.
Preach.
Like that. So
and that's all part of being whole too.
Yeah, being whole. When you're, whether or not I have a bad day or a good day, I have to take accountability that a lot of that was my own choice and decisions.
There's actually, I think, a piece that we didn't touch on, right? So we started this episode, I said that a great partnership can multiply your success, but a bad one can ruin everything that you've built, right? Yeah. I think whether you're through your business relationships or your romantic relationship, the one thing has to be consistent. You need advisors and mentors.
That's right.
Because they're the one that has been there before. Every time I have meetings with my clients, you know, they're asking me questions that I've already experienced. So I can guide them through the complexity of running a business. Right. You know, every time I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling somebody who's been married 20, 30 years, what are they doing? They're mentoring me, guiding me through the complexity of navigating through a marriage. Does that make sense? So that one piece has to always exist. I tell everybody, like, if your relationship doesn't have a body or an entity that you're accountable to, you're not going to be successful. The reason why CEOs have a board is because the CEO is accountable to the board. And the board are accountable to the customers. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So everybody has to
need an objective lens out, or someone who's less subjective and not within that relationship.
100%. Because no man is an island. So if you put those pieces in place, you can have a successful relationship.
That's definitely true. I definitely recommend anyone who's in any kind of relationship, romantic relationship especially, before you get married, do some counseling. Yeah. Right? Do some counseling, not after, but before.
And proactive counseling.
And proactive counseling if necessary.
Someone that you're both held accountable to.
Yes.
That you can come to. Not, oh, we can come to, that's your side. That's your friend. No, it has to be someone who will give it to you straight. And you will, not only that they'll give it to you straight, but you will heed whatever they say. Yeah. You know, because they're looking for your best interest. Because it comes like we go to them, but they don't know this and that. No, we agreed to let them guide us and be, you know, give us what they see from an outside perspective.
So does that mean I'll be guiding you moving forward?
Oh, man.
Close this out, man.
All right, man. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys learned a lot about romantic relationships, partnerships, whether it's marriage or dating or situationships. I kid. Business. You know,
entanglements,
friendships.
You know, friendships. What am I missing? Advisors. We hope you maintain those relationships. Set up a rubric and set up a foundation to which to guide your relationship that you can go back to on how to deal with issues. Appreciate y'all for watching. I want y'all to like, subscribe, follow, if you like what you see and hear and share everything, where can they find us at?
GoBeyond.com.
Yes. Go beyond the grind.
Go beyond
Why don't we say it together? Go beyond the
Go beyond the grind.com. And hey, I want people to drop in the comment section, like, what type of relationships are you essentially in, and what are you doing to make sure that the relationship is functioning very well? Please drop it in the comment section.
Until next time,
peace.
To make strategic decisions and take calculated risks. We'll also talk about future-proofing your business so you can build a lasting legacy and true freedom. This isn't a one-sided conversation. We're all on this journey together to build a life and a business that works for you, so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes.